Max and Takuma, thanks very much for joining us. This is the first time I think you two have seen each other since Japan last year when you were driving the RA272. Is that right?
Yeah, true.
Max, you'll have to tell us how much of a help was Takuma in helping you even just fit in the car?
Well, I had no clue really how to be in that car. So any advice I could get was very helpful. I mean, still I was sitting in the car, but I felt very high up. So I think it was made at the time, of course, for drivers a bit smaller, but it was still an amazing experience.
Yeah, particularly Max never drove the car which has got the 3 pedal on it, didn't you? You only
Yes.
have 2 pedals, so you don't know what is the third one. But you drove really well, though.
Well, I guess that's
I was trying.
In a sense, that's Takuma giving away your age slightly, but you've had a much longer career at this point than Max. So we're going to look a bit at your racing career memories and your first ones. So we'll go with Max because his is more recent. Max, what's your first memory of racing?
What I can remember is just going to go-kart tracks already when I was very little, seeing my dad race in Formula One, being there or from the TV or joining him for certain tests as well, like on an airstrip or whatever. So must have been like around 3 years old.
So that would have been early 2000s. I've actually got a direct question for you here. 2003 Japanese Grand Prix, were you there?
I don't think so.
Because that is the one time that Takuma raced against your dad.
Is that the only time?
Yeah, I think so. So I started racing in 2002 with Jordan Grand Prix, and in 2003 I was just a reserve driver. But in the end, Jacques Villeneuve decided not to race, and I was just a kind of lost panic. And on Thursday, I only knew that I was actually driving on that weekend. But anyway, so it was Suzuka, so all know about it. And then I just jumped in the car and they raced with Jensen at the BAR Honda team. At that time, yeah, I was raced with your father, Jos.
Okay, yeah.
So now you know how old I am. Yeah.
Yeah, it was his final race, and Taku finished in the points as well, got a 6th place then. But Taku, what was your first memory of racing? Because yours will be even before then.
My first experience was actually back in 1987, and it was first Japanese Grand Prix in Suzuka. And I was only 10 years old boy, know nothing about racing, but I was crazy about cars, And as you can imagine, all Japan was so excited to have Formula One for the first time. Now, of course, in 70s you had it in some races, but back in Suzuka at that time it was just a mega. So my father also had no idea for the racing, but he loved the car. And as a Honda group, he had some ticket on it. So some group together and gathered together and then went to the Suzuka. So that day was my first experience, went to the track and see actually race. And that was a Formula One. So you can imagine how I was shocked it was. And I was just into it immediately. So fall in love.
Yeah, actually, that's quite interesting because for you it was, I guess a shock and something new and different. Max, you grew up around it. So did you ever get that same kind of feeling of like shock around F1, or does it just always seem normal to you?
Yeah, not shocked, but overwhelmed. I think that's the right word, overwhelmed. Sometimes people might think I'm just a bit emotionless about it, but I mean, I grew up in racing. Like, I mean, my dad, my mom, the whole family, when we were at home at dinner, we would talk about racing. So when I was little, for me, in the F1 paddock, it was a bit like a playground, I even once managed to lock myself in one of the trucks at Arrows when I was little. So I guess growing up in a racing family and then spending a lot of time with my dad, I think that does help a lot to not be overwhelmed by it. And at the end of the day, for me, Formula One was always, let's say, my goal, my dream, and yeah, I would do anything for it. So once I was going to be there, I was just really looking forward to it.
That's quite interesting, actually, that you've both highlighted some big moments in your early careers at some pretty cool circuits. For Max, you mentioned the Toro Rosso announcement and being at Spa, and Takuma driving for BAR Honda at Suzuka. So it's an age-old question to racing drivers, but which one's better, or which one's your favourite circuit at least? Takuma, you've probably raced on more tracks, I reckon, in your career. So which one's your favourite track?
It's always difficult. The driver is a very simple animal. So wherever you had a great memory, it's a great race, you always love it. For my instantly, I have to say Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and that's my favorite track. But of course, not because of Japanese, but Suzuka is one of the greatest track. I think Max would agree with that. That's just so challenging. And in fact, I had a first memory in 10 years old. But then, it's a little bit my racing background was such that really I had to wait the next 10 years, right? I had to start racing when I was 20. So up until then, all I had was just a push bike and a bicycle. So it was for me, the Suzuka, the first time seeing a Formula One. And when I was 20, I went to the Suzuka racing school there. And I imagine how I was excited. It was just a dream come true. Just over 10 years, I was waiting that moment. And the first time I was jumping a race car, and that was a Suzuka. So, and then 5 years later, you came back for the year Formula One. It was just an amazing moment. So for me, for the permanent road course, Suzuka is for me, it's just so special.
Yeah, I really like Suzuka. It's definitely one of my favorites because going to the limit there, it's you have to build it up. You cannot do that in FP1, and it's a real old school track, a lot of fast corners, but also not much runoff. And let's say you go off in one corner, then you know that you're in the wall, or you have damage on your car. So to let's say go to the limit there, it's hard. But that's I think also what the drivers like, because some of the new tracks where you go wide, you just have the tarmac or like the runoff, okay, that's the limit, I'll just go a bit back. But to build up to that limit is a lot more rewarding in Suzuka, for example. But for me, my favorite track is Spa, just because of the elevation change and a lot of fast corners as well. So I just already from when I was little, I always wanted to drive on that track.
Yeah, and you always get massive support there, don't you? The Dutch fans love to head to Spa. Is that where the best fan support is for you?
Definitely one of the best, but also Austria for me was a great one, where a lot of Dutch fans were. I think definitely those two. But even it doesn't matter the quantity. Sometimes it's also just about the atmosphere. I remember in Hungary there was like a nice group, but also like Hockenheim was quite a bit of orange in the grandstands.
Yeah, they stand out, don't they? Takuma, what's it like racing mainly in North America when you're sort of hopping around state to state rather than country to country? Do you notice big differences in the support and fan base there?
Oh yes, it's quite interesting because the Max today you have a Max, so there's lots of orange in, if you like, in German Grand Prix, like he said. But my time in German Grand Prix it was all about Michael Schumacher, of course. And if you go to the Italy, all about Tifosi, all about Ferrari. So you go to country, the fans so specific fans and so into it, which is great. But then I remember in the Formula One day, so of course, I drove in both ends, the front end and as also, the back ends too. So in the Super Aguri days, when we went to North America, of course, I was in Montreal in Canada, and they just loved the racing. So there's no specific fan or team or driver, they equally cheering. So at the same time, okay, so Kimi Räikkönen and I think Lewis was whatever at that time, or Fernando as well, that cheering a big time, of course, he's a superstar. But then even like we at the back of the grid in Super Gui there was like cheering like crazy. So of course, and back in days, I think there is no North American driver there, but not only for that, just Gilles Villeneuve circuit, that's just the history tells that the fans so excited about. I think generally speaking, I think North America is a bit like Japan too. They can wave every single flag as well. So I think it's just the variety of the people wanted to cheer on. Now it's no specific, neither Italy or Germany. So obviously no offense, but there's a quite unique feeling go to the country by country.
Speaking of the specific circuits though in North America, you mentioned Indianapolis Motor Speedway with your 2 wins there and the 500 being a favourite. But do any of the road courses stand out, or any other circuits you go to that you think are great, really old school tracks or really fun ones to drive?
Yeah, well, some of the circuits are like old school stuff. For example, Mid Ohio, where the railroads, the home track, it feels like a local British track. It's like an Autumn Park or something like that. And then if you go to the Watkins Glen, which unfortunately we don't have a series today, but we had it a couple of years, and that was a kind of a Spa or Suzuka style, just a lot of elevation, like Max said. We all drivers always wanted to have some elevation change because it's just so challenging. So in North America, you go to the North America is another challenging track, and there are quite a few quite impressive, challenging trackers be here. So.
Max, is there any of those that you'd like to have a go on? Do you ever look over at the North American racing scene and think that could be a bit fun?
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot of the American tracks on the simulator, so I know quite a few. I mean, of course, not in real life, but it's quite well modeled on the game. So yeah, there are a lot of cool tracks. I mean, I love Sebring. I've been there. It's a very bumpy track, but I think that adds a challenge to it. It's about how well you can ride over the bumps and stuff. Besides that, yeah, I would like to, well, I don't know if it's that, but I just enjoyed like the 24 hours of Daytona, just the whole scene. But then, yeah, like Road America is a very cool track. There are a lot of very nice tracks to drive, that's for sure.
And what car are you normally driving when you're on the sim doing that? Is that on iRacing?
Yeah, and I mainly like GT cars, but they recently brought out like an LMP2 car as well, which is a bit faster, a bit more fun.
Never an Indy car then?
I did a bit, but I mainly do the oval stuff with IndyCar on the game. It's quite fun because for me it's very new. I'm not used to driving on an oval, so you are learning by just doing it. And sometimes it's nice to do something else than what I've been doing the last few years. So it's just a different skill. But it's good, to try different things.
Is it something you'd ever try in real life?
Not on the ovals. I'm good.
They scare you.
I prefer to watch Takuma do it, and now just sit back and watch it on the TV.
Yeah, I mean, Takuma, if Max was to jump in one, what tips would you have for him? How different is an Indy car compared to an F1 car?
I'm sure he likes it. Anything that's got a wheel on it, I'm sure the Max will drive really fast. Like Max described the Suzuka, we need to see how the car reacts, and then we observe it and we learn it, and then we're finding a challenge for the limit is. Now, of course, if you imagine that Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it is like a 235 miles per hour street course, because everything has got a concrete wall, and you are using from outside to the apex to drifting off to the outside, the same thing. So there's no margin for the mistake, and to do that, you really need to understand the car, and you need a lot of commitment. In Formula One, of course, it's very fast. Now today is putting 5.5 G for sure, but in Indy, it's only obviously less downforce, so it's only 4.5 G. But you go into the corner to nearly 240 miles per hour, and the minimum speed is 230. And that kind of speed range, you never even experience, even in Formula One. So when I was jumping, from Formula One car to the Indy car, it was just sensational. It's just nothing like it. So it's kind of fun. So I'm sure if Max had ever had a chance to driving Indy car, yeah, I'm sure he will enjoy it for sure.
We'll keep working on him. We'll keep telling him.
I'll practice more on the game first then.
Yes.
Because if I hit the wall there, it doesn't hurt,
Doesn't hurt, no.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it does in real life. But Takuma asked Max about whether he'd try that. Is there anything that you'd like to try at this stage of your career that you'd like to have a go in? Well,
any racing, we all love. Now, of course, I'm concentrating on IndyCar at the moment, but knowing that Formula One and IndyCar, it's just always I'm just a formula. So it'd be nice to have, like Max said in iRacing, that GT cars or some sports car program, it would be interesting for sure. In any future program, we just don't know, but it would be nice to experience some of the stuff too.
Yeah, and what about you, Max? If you could drive anything or race anything, 2 wheels, 4 wheels, what would you like to have going?
No, I would like to do in the future, not now, maybe like an endurance race, yeah.
Yeah.
Something. I mean, I enjoy doing it on the simulator already. So, like driving in the night, I really enjoy passing all the traffic. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe like a 24-hour of Le Mans or something. That would be cool.
One of my sources tells me you wouldn't mind to go on a MotoGP bike as well.
Yeah, but at the moment that's a bit difficult because they don't let me do it on the bike. So Helmut keeps saying I'm not allowed to do it. So I have to wait a little bit.
Well, we'll keep working on Helmut, and at the same time, Takuma can work on you about an IndyCar drive. But
sounds good.
That's one of the things about what would be cool to do. Sadly, one thing we're not getting to do this year is in Formula One, race in the US. How much are you going to miss racing in Austin, Max?
Yeah, I'm missing my steaks. That's Austin is a really cool track to drive. So it's of course a shame that we can't go there, but of course, we have to just live with it at the moment and deal with it. And hopefully, we can go back there again next year, because I think it's always a great atmosphere over there. You can see every year it's growing. People are coming to the races. They really enjoy it. So and it's a good track to race on as well. There's always a bit of action, so that's good.
And Takuma, I think you got to race IndyCar on it last year, was it, for the first time? What was that like?
Yeah. Kota is a quite challenging track. It's just very unfortunate that we also, don't race there, for the pandemic. But it's just one of, from facility point of view in North America, it is one of the best. So I think the fans enjoy it and we enjoy it. And it was a shame we just don't go there. Yeah,
but did you do any comparisons when you were there? You got to see what Formula One had done in the past, sort of the lap times with IndyCar and everything.
Yeah, that's hard, Chris. I mean, it's just a different thing, compared to the lap time. Of course, we were slow. We don't have a tire, we don't have a downforce, and not even the DRS and power point of view too. So it's just no point to compare to the Director 2 series. But what you're looking is it's just how racing is be fun. I think that's the most important things. And I think the Formula One is very impressive in terms of just speed in going to the corner, and just it's amazing speed. But that's we don't have it currently, but we still have a hard racing. Any car you put in a race car driver, you go to the Formula 3, IndyCar, Formula 1, GT car, we absolutely have to drive on the limit. Yeah, be ashamed that we can't match just the lap time, but that's okay, because that's how it works. So Formula 1, go for it.
Well, it is a cool place that F1 races in, but F1 has some pretty big events on its calendar. Max, is there one that stands out to you as one you'd like to win?
For me, it doesn't matter which one. As long as we win all of them.
Has to be them all, though.
Yeah.
Well, because that leads me on to Takuma. I mean, what's it like this year? Again, you got to experience it winning the Indy 500. Is that on the level of winning the Monaco Grand Prix? Does it feel even bigger than that? How does it feel?
Well, I never won a Monaco Grand Prix, so I don't know. But the people saying that, as a comparison, Le Mans 24 Hours and Monaco Grand Prix, and of course Indy 500. Well, for me, I experienced part of it, and then obviously the Indy 500 is just an unbelievable feeling. Particularly talking about history, the more than 100 years of the history, and has gone it. And then, not this year, it was obviously no spectators, so it was sad and lonely, but still Indy 500, it was just so special. Usually we have over 300,000 people on one venue, which is just nothing like it. And to achieve that kind of special race with a team together, it was just a significant moment for me.
Yeah, well, both of you are proven winners. I know I started this by saying that you're at different parts of your career and the age difference, but you're both so competitive all the time. And I just want to know from both of you, just what's that feeling like when you put in so much effort and you do cross the line first and you get to celebrate a big win? Max, like, you've had a win this year here in Silverstone, but you've had plenty in F1 already. What's it feel like?
So every victory feels different because it can be won in a different way, right? So you have a few victories which are just very unexpected, like even the one this year, because Mercedes is so dominant. Then, my victories in Mexico, for example, they were pretty, not easy going, but it was all in control. Then you have some races where it was like the weather, like in Hockenheim, for example. That one was really rewarding, that we just kept it on track, and we did a very good strategy as a team as well. Then, when you have a problem in the start, you have to come through the field and win it with like a few laps to go, like in Austria. So there are a lot of different emotions, like winning your first one. That is always going to be very special because, of course, when you're in go-karting and you're working towards getting to Formula One, and you look on the TV and you see the podium ceremony, and you're like, okay, one day I want to be there, but not many people get that opportunity to be there. And then basically your first podium is immediately a win as well. That was an amazing feeling. So I always had quite a bit of different emotion to it, but as long as you win, it's good, I guess.
Yeah, and Takuma, I guess, what's it like? You know, is it the same and as satisfying winning now at this stage of your career as it was at the start of your career?
Yeah, very similar. I think every win is just so special for yourself, you know. Yeah, like Max described, go-karting win, first win, I clearly remember that. And the British Formula 3 days, that was so special, especially for the Macau Formula 3. That was just so controlled and planned it, and then it's just perfectly executed. That sort of win is also satisfaction, as well as quite surprising, like Max said too, that, you know, for example, a couple of years in Portland or last year in St. Louis, where we were lapped down or sometimes in 20s of grid, but they still win the race. Now, that's obviously beautiful for the IndyCar, but it's all about the team, all about peoples. And, you know, when you win, yeah, of course you're completely pumped by adrenaline and you are so happy, of course, but yourself. But then you're just considering there's so many people sacrifice, so many people just helping, you know, behind you, you know, just directly if you look at the mechanics, you know, the boys done the super job for the pit stop, like 20 guys, and then you have a couple of engineers, marketing and team owners, and then fans and sponsors. You talk about it, it's just millions people behind you. Now that sort of feeling just, wow, this is just amazing. And it's so happy to share the happiness as a joy as well.
Well, you're both still winning races, and I imagine you've got plenty more in the bag. So thank you very much for your time, and cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.